I just want to show you how to use a limiter on the master bus to confirm that the output is around about minus 15 LUFS, loudness units full scale. Here I have a project with a voice track and some audio I've just brought in, and I would like to just ensure that it's going to come out at a good volume. If I were to render it now as an MP3, let's just sort of do a dry run, which is going to show us it's coming out with a LUFS level of around about minus 19. The loudness units full scale is around about minus 19 there. And that is a bit low. You want to be reaching around minus 15, minus 14 for most streaming platforms, including YouTube. So we would like to raise that by about 4 or 5 decibels. How do we do that safely without it clipping? Well, let's look at how it would clip. If I actually just went in and raised this master by 6 decibels, then ran that rendering process again, you'll see that warning, it's clipped, it's exceeded the maximum and distorted in 2 locations, 3 locations there. So that wasn't the best approach. Let's double click. It's best practice to keep your master at 0 decibels at unity gain and actually add a limiter. So let's go in here. You see there actually got a loudness meter, LUFS. I'm going to put that in there. And before that, I'm going to put in a limiter, the real limit. So just reorder those. So the limiter comes before the loudness meter. If I double click that loudness meter just to pop it out there, I'm going to be looking at this average LUFS level just to sort of try and aim for the sort of minus 15, minus 14 I was talking about with streaming services. So once upon a time, there was a little girl called Goldilocks. She went walking in the woods one day and smelt something delicious coming from over the hill. So she followed her nose and came to a little cottage. Now, by lowering the threshold of the limiter by around about 5 or 6 decibels, I've actually squeezed that audio up by that amount. And there was just a couple of times it exceeded the limit there, and the limiter has actually just safely reduced the volume without distorting. So what I do now, if I run my dry run render again, it's shown me that the LUFS level is now about minus 13.4. which is pretty good. It's going to be a nice loud audio. So if I'm sharing my MP3 with someone, they're not going to have to crank their speakers up to max to hear it. It's going to be sort of a comfortable level on a par with most audio that you'll hear in your computer on streaming services, etc. So whether or not you're sharing it to YouTube or anything, if you're actually just perhaps, here's an example at our school, if you're making an audiobook or something and sharing it with the teacher or some friends, then it's great if it's coming out at that sort of LUFS level, because then the teacher or your friends aren't going to have to crank the volume up and then deafen themselves when they listen to something commercially produced straight after it. All right, so hopefully that answers your question of how to use a limiter on the master track in order to produce a professional volume level with your tracks.